Hey, beautiful people. I'm Milah.
Hey y'all, I'm Monika.
And thanks for joining us.
How are you doing, sis?
I am aligned and balanced.
Oh, okay. Well, that is our official mantra to get this party officially started. I know that I am excited for tonight because we have our first guest, or for this week's episode, because we have our first guest of the season. And it has been a long time coming and how timely as well. Uh,
Aligned.
Yes, they very much aligned. This is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And so, we like to have guests so we can learn some things, discuss some things, and get deeper with our self love, our self growth, and our care for each other. But before we get into all the good stuff, Monica, how's your week been?
um, the week has been I take it day by day, um, and give myself grace.
Okay, well, I like how that sounds. I definitely am a fan of what you said about day by day and giving yourself grace. And I am learning the joy of puffy eyes and tears at random. And they are, it's quite a beautiful thing. No, I've learned to, allow myself a moment of stillness to really process how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be something traumatic or tragic, but I just think allowing yourself to sit with your feelings, beautiful thing.
Exactly.
So before we get into the actual interview, and you guys are gonna love her, I was gonna say, Monica, will you give us a little bit of background, because we know that you brought Keisha to the family circle, to the podcast. So give us the scoop. Who is this Keisha?
So Keisha has been a licensed social worker and mental health therapist for the past 3 years. Her approach is that she is non-conforming and it's based on lived experiences, which allow for her clients to be authentic in a session. She lives in Maryland, but she is a native of Tacoma, Washington. Whoop
Whoop
whoop.
whoop. Teach us. No.
She contractually works with Black-owned mental health agency in Baltimore, Maryland, and the areas of her focus are trauma, grief, loss, depression, and anxiety. And she says the truth is, we are our own healers. Therapy provides guidance needed to identify what we have gone through, how to process it, and how to identify what the journey looks like to move forward.
Hmm.
She says being a therapist is one aspect of her evolving career path. And she has learned that there is a significant connection between mental health and finances, especially in the Black community. So her next endeavor is to establish a business that addresses mental health and finances to empower her clients.
Okay. All right. So I definitely know that it's very timely with all that's been going on in our real lives. And of course, how that manifests into the podcast, because this is a podcast about real sisterhood, real relationship, and a lots of growth. Some, and, laughter, of course. So I am grateful, and I think you guys are going to be blessed. That's what we hope, that you will take something away from it, because even if you don't think that you're in a mental health crisis, or even if you don't think that you're grieving, it might be just nice to take a listen. Stay with us. Keisha is amazing, and I definitely know that you're going to take away some gems. Hey.
Hey.
We are excited. This is our official first guest of the season, family, as you all know. And we are excited because this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we couldn't be talking to a better family member this day. We have our beautiful niece, Lakeisha. Not really anyone's niece, but honey, she is family. She is a therapist. She is a Washington State finest out of Tacoma originally, but she is now residing in the place formerly known as Chocolate City. So, so let's clap her in. Let's welcome in Lakeisha. Woo!
Yay! Thank you guys. I'm so happy to be with you today. And yeah, I'm excited.
Well, we are excited to get into it because it is mental health awareness. And, Monika and I have definitely been tested and tried in September. So we are grateful to be in October.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And to figure out how to cope and how to move forward. And hopefully, our intentions always are for our episodes to bless people. And so we are praying for that as well this episode. So, Monika,
Yes.
I know you and Keisha go way back. So, anything that we should be thinking, or do you want to start the conversation off? I know that we had a really good question when we were getting ready and planning this. And, I'll leave it up to you.
Well, first I'll with us speaking about mental health, I feel like it's just these days you just need to be kind. And how me and Keisha met um,
Mm-hmm.
was 2017, I believe. And it was at a Nate Jackson comedy show. But she came up to me and she complimented me. And she was just being kind and being nice. And we just connected from there. So you just never know, how you're going to what you're going to manifest, or what that connection is going to be with that person. You never know how they're going to come into your lives, and where they'll be in your lives years later. So she's just been a blessing.
Mm. I like that, girl. There's nothing like showing love to people, especially when you see other melanated people, other sisters, other women, men. Give some compliments. Be kind. I love that. That's
Hmm.
the best way. Spread love. I like
Yeah,
that, Monika.
especially with dealing, with mental health, because you just never. I don't think I was having a bad day that day, but it just it just lifts your spirits, and you're just like, because someone sees me.
Oh, oh, Keisha, that's wonderful, and honey, and that's biblical. I'm the auntie that's gonna take it back to the word, honey. We talk about a kind word, okay? A kind word, a word, a good word. It's
Yeah.
like medicine. It's good. So anyway, I like that. Okay. Well, since all the family knows I'm the one that's been going through a lot of things, but so has Monika because she's been on this journey with me. But we just wanted to start off with asking you, Keisha, straight up, how do you suggest to someone that they get mental health help or services without being, Monika, how did you put it? A hole?
you know
I mean, like when your friend when you know your person, your sister, your friend, your family, they need
right,
to seek help.
Yeah.
How do you start that conversation?
because the delivery has to be on point, otherwise it can be taken away. you know
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question. I would say, like, if it's someone that you're, like you said, your sister, your friend, close friend, um, just having a conversation with them to kind of see where they're at, and like kind of just asking them questions, not like drilling them or anything, but like, um is this helpful to like talk, like how do I support you first, so you put yourself
Mm.
there first, not to be their
okay.
therapist, but to say to them like, how can I support you, like what is it, what does support look like for you in this time, and let them kind of like take the lead there, and then kind of like bring in like, do you appreciate like us being able to talk, is this helpful, I just don't want to pressure you, and if they're like, yeah, girl, I like talking to you, whatever they say. And then you can move into like, well, if you have done therapy before, how that was helpful for you. And maybe in that way, you're able to kind of like take away the stigma and like pointing fingers and being like, girl, I feel you, because I actually, it helped me to do therapy, and just having somebody to talk to who doesn't really know me, but it's a neutral place.
Right.
And is that something that
Mm-hmm.
you would be interested in? Because girl, I can hook you up. Like, you know what I mean? You know how we
Mm-hmm.
You're
talk to
right.
each other though, right? So that would
Yes.
be kind of like the process that I would encourage. Not like, girl, you need help. You need to go to therapy, right? So yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. I like that. That was a soft touch. I could definitely see Monika doing that a lot to people.
At first, I mean, I've had experiences where
Hmm.
at first I do offer that soft touch, but then Keisha, once it gets to like it is like we on a Groundhog's Day, and I'm just like,
Mm,
girl, like, did you pick up the phone? Did you call these people? We gonna call right now because
yes.
I'm listening to you, but I only my capacity is
Hmm.
I got 25% for you today.
Mm, mhm. Yep, that part. I think
Hmm.
that's hard too. Like sometimes I feel like in any relationship that sometimes we take on like this responsibility to be somebody's like full support and like hold the weight for them, and that's never our place. It's not my place to be your therapist. It's just more of my role to be your friend, and
Right.
sometimes give that strong hand like, girl, no, we gonna call together because I care
Hmm.
about you.
Well, I like that. I like the way you said it's not our place.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when the person who needs the help, they feel like their friends are supposed to be their support system, but you're like, there's a difference between putting on your life, your what is it, that face mask first,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and then making sure that everyone around you is helpful. So okay, I hear that. That
Or the
that that hit me.
expectations of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's rough because sometimes you also have friends who are like, for lack of better term, they emotionally monitor their friends. Like those are the people who are super empathetic, and they're like, oh my God.
Empath.
Yeah, they're like, oh my Lord, I cannot handle this. I'm gonna take this on emotionally for them. And so what they're
Mm.
doing subconsciously is like, okay, so I gotta say certain things and move a certain way and bring certain food to make her respond in a certain way. And that's not healthy either. So you have to be careful, not only for the person who's grieving, but for the type of people that are around you. We have to make sure we check ourselves and make sure we're in a healthy space.
Right.
Yeah.
Girl, that's powerful. I mean, and that just kind of brings me, since you mentioned grieving, it just brings me back to why is grief or dealing with it, even though it's a universal thing. Like we're all gonna lose someone. They used to say the only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes.
Oh.
So why is it such an awkward thing to like deal with people? Because I see people being awkward but trying to give me the support, and so I just try to let them do what they want to do. But like, how can we get over it in our mind? I mean, we want to encourage people. When it was me and it was my sister and I needed to encourage her, you feel awkward. You don't have the words. You're like, you don't want to sound like a corny movie or a cliche. You
Right.
just want to be like, man, I got you. This is effed up. I mean,
Yeah.
and at some point, that's what I'm like, hey, this is effed up. I'm with you. And then the shoe was on my foot, and then I was like, oh man, I've seen people struggle with it, what to say to me. And I'm like, oh, they're, giving me scriptures. And I'm like, man,
Mhm.
y'all know I be in the word. So that is
Right.
not really helpful for me right now because I'm in my whole heart. Like,
Yeah.
but sorry,
Especially if you
let me let
haven't,
you answer that.
yeah,
Sorry.
especially if you haven't experienced that particular loss, like a loss of a child, a loss of a mother, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always, I'll say this, and I feel like we don't have death etiquette.
Mm,
I feel like we all know, like, okay, there's no other way to get out of here but to die. Um,
Right.
but it's like
hmm
we just don't address it until it's like up in our face and we're just like, oh man, now what, right? So I think that's the first thought that I have is like, as a collective, we don't really have death etiquette. And then to address like your actual like question, I feel like when anyone says like I lost someone or someone died, it's like so yeah. So like I was saying, the death etiquette part, we don't really have that. But then when we move into like how do we respond, I think our initial thought is like when we hear someone say, I lost someone or someone passed, it's like we're trying to make that person feel better in that moment.
Hmm.
And really that's us projecting like our anxiety and stuff in that moment. Like, oh, I gotta
Ooh.
make them feel better because I want to feel better because this is all awkward, right?
Yep.
And so my suggestion is just be quiet. Take in the information,
Mm-hmm.
hold it for a second, and just be in the moment with them.
Hmm.
Because, like, nothing we say is going to make them feel better. Nothing
Mm-mm.
we do is going to bring that person back.
Mm-mm.
So you just, and that's another awkward thing that most of us don't like to do is sit in silence.
Hmm. Say it.
So it's like, just sit with them. And then when it's time, then you can say something. But usually I say, let that person say something.
First, yeah.
Let them say something. Let them tell you where they're at. Even if they start just crying, that is then you being able to hold that space for them.
Mm, girl, I love everything about that. That reminds me of what cousin Malcolm said on the show as well. It's just
Mm.
silence. Just sitting in silence. When we had that episode, he's a healer. He just said people have a hard time being silent.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
uncomfortable. There's uncomfortableness. There's vulnerability. I guess there's truth in that
Mm.
silence. You know,
Yeah.
wow, that is powerful. And that is something. Just some cultures they actually sit with people. They just
Mhm.
come, and it's the tradition of sitting with someone when they're grieving or when they're going through a loss, and whether it be relationship loss, because those things can really mess
Mhm.
with your mental health as well, or if it's
Absolutely.
actual physical loss of someone, they're passing
Mhm.
on. You can't call them or speak to them again. And I will say about Monika is that those first, 24 to 48 hours, or even maybe 72 hours, she was there, just to sit.
Mm.
And then I had other friends reach out and kind of offer that same level of love for me. And I feel it's a very loving thing. Um, because yeah, sometimes you don't know how you're gonna feel. So yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I agree. Yeah, definitely that. And I would say, like, when even and I love that you touched on relationships too. It's just like let that person come to you. So even if it's just a text message like, hey, when you're ready to talk, no, I'm here. Cause you're like
Yeah.
releasing them from that responsibility of like having to like respond to everyone and let people know I'm okay. And like that's like sensory overload. It's so overwhelming. And I would lastly say, like, after you have kind of learned how to sit in silence, that's going to be a norm. Sometimes I just say, like, people just need you to bring them some food because, child, I don't feel like cooking.
Okay.
Sometimes,
Really.
I can't think about what I want to eat because I'm so hurt. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or just coming to sit with them for a second. Just doing things that they would usually do. Come vacuum my floor, girl. Just Keisha, where is your vacuum cleaner? I'm gonna help you in ways that I know is helpful to you. So yeah, those are just some things that I encourage people to do.
Oh, honey, I love them. And
Right.
that brings me to that brought me to that story, because it's interesting. Because yeah, I when you said you don't want to cook, I go, yeah, I sure haven't been thinking about trying to cook, but that's something that I would do for my mom. Or we would,
Mm.
she'd say, oh, we have this, that, this. Now what we what are you gonna create or whatever. But kind of just death etiquette, going back to that, because I really think that that's something that people need to hear, is the death etiquette. Now, when I was going through my initial stages of like, my mom has just departed this realm, Monika and I, I'm answering the phone for different people, and I have this lady, and she is a friend. She's an older lady. I mean, I,
Child.
I'll say.
Child.
I'll say she's in like so she's not super old, but she is definitely grown. She is definitely somebody's a senior auntie. Okay, so she is a grown
She should have
woman.
known better.
Oh God.
And she was like, "Oh, I'm in town. I need you to like pick me up and drop me off somewhere." And I'm like, I literally just lost my mom. Oh, girl, that's fine. I need you to find me a place to stay.
Ooh.
Like I didn't even have words because I'm like, I literally. Oh well, yeah, your mom, yeah, you were dealing with that. She's in a better place.
Oh.
All right.
I'm
So
looking at Milah like, you better, girl, hang up the phone.
Right. Right.
and it was playing on my mom's good way she raised me. Like, you want to help people who need help, but I'm like, wait, what, lady? I just told you that like my whole heart
Right.
is been ripped out of my body. Somebody is dead. They are two-stepping on it. And I'm here doing the best that I can. I said, lady, the fact that I wasn't in that anger stage was probably the blessing for her. That would come a
Ooh,
little bit
child,
later.
yes.
But wait, Monika, how did you put it?
I don't remember who.
She was like, girl, hang up that phone. She's like, I'm gonna answer the phone when she called back.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good thing too. Like you become like the protector almost, like, wait a minute now. Because like you said, Monika, she should have known better. Yeah,
It's like it went in one ear and went out the other, and I was just like, "Oh, don't answer that phone when she calls back. She'll figure it out."
absolutely. Wow. Wow.
And see, because she was calling from a number that I didn't recognize, and I picked up the first time, and the first time she she was just not aware. I mean, I don't know. I just want to say that maybe she was in her own. And sometimes I try to tell people too, don't take everything so personal because people really are in their own head. They
Mhm.
they're kind of
Mhm.
listening to you, but then they kind of just worried about their stuff.
Right.
Because that lady, I was like,
Mm,
ma'am,
mm,
ma'am,
mm.
ma'am, I can't even. Monika was like, there's Uber, there is the bus, there is the taxi. She's like,
There is
what?
the
Because I
bus. Mm.
because I had to tell the lady, I'm not driving right now. Like, people are not letting me drive anywhere because they do not know how I'm gonna have what reaction I'm gonna have.
Mhm.
I've been a passenger, man. My mom just took her last breath. It's like 8 hours ago.
Right.
Wow.
Like, we're like that's how fast this lady was on me with her shenanigans. But yeah, but
Mm.
love to her. Oh my goodness. And thank
Needless to say, Keisha, she figured it out.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, because
Wow.
that was not going to take place.
I know that's right. Good job for being there. Because
you.
what? Ma'am, have a seat and a nap.
Yeah,
This is
yeah. People be wild when you're loved. I mean, that's what I said. Just death etiquette. Like, this,
yeah.
what you gonna do and not do. What you gonna do, and I feel like I don't know if the older generations just had a better concept of like people are gonna pass. So, like you said, let's bring a pie over. Let's bring a casserole over. Let's
Yeah.
check on them. Let's sit on. I just feel like death etiquette was better back then. I mean, even if the person's gonna be cremated, whatever. Even if you're not gonna have a big formal funeral, people are still grieving and mourning. So I really
Yeah.
do like that point of death etiquette,
Yeah.
I
Keisha.
think
That just hit
I
it out
think
the
this
park
Absolutely.
for
younger
me.
generation, they're so numb to it now.
Hmm.
Mm.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's so true. Gosh, that I would have
Mm.
been. Oh man, you handled that well, very well. Mm.
Well, no, I believe it or not, I wasn't really handling it well because I was feeling overwhelmed. Like, how can I get myself together to try to help this lady? And how does this lady not hear that? I just told you that my everyone who knows me knows it's like Mila and her mom. So it's like, wait, what? What? Oh my goodness. It
I
was
wasn't
wild.
gonna let that happen. We was not doing that. Okay.
Yes, I appreciate that so much. So.
So do I. That's what Monika definitely wanted. She was like, heck no.
Mm-mm. That's good
Mm.
because you made another point too, Mila, where it's like, you're not like when you lose someone, you're not thinking like yourself. It is shock. It is complete shock. Like, wait, what? Am I in the Twilight Zone? But then it's also like, oh, but I have to like still operate like I would usually operate. And like, no, your brain, it's a whole chemical change in your brain when something like that happens. So, yeah. So,
No, girl. I love, honey. Sorry, I love that you said it's a whole Yes, because I feel changed, you know, and everyone's like, oh, well, you know, it's gonna be great. You're gonna be this new person. I'm like,
What?
what are you telling me? I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know. But I'm like, I didn't hate the person that I was. What are you talking
Girl,
about?
Mm-hmm.
who said that?
Just There's people with their, you know, like I said, when you're giving advice. But that's why Keisha just told us, girl, to be quiet, to take up space with you, just to
Yeah.
silence, sit in that silence, let it come to
Okay.
you, let it
Exactly.
come to, let it come to you. Basically, when you're sitting in silence, you're also, I think, waiting for direction, waiting for that right cue. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Death etiquette is a real thing. It really is. And I think, we may need to delve into that more in
Hmm.
future, because my
Well,
goodness.
you coming back. I mean, you
Right.
coming back. We already know this, not just for Mental Health Awareness Month. I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just lived experience, honestly.
Hmm.
The
Right.
resume doesn't capture what it really is. So,
Hey,
yeah.
message. Okay, that's for family right there, honey. Your
Okay.
resume is just a small portion
Yeah.
of your whole lived and life experience.
And I
Yeah.
think going back to death etiquette, I think it's, because with these companies out here, I don't know why it's in their SOP to only give people 3 days to
Hmm.
grieve.
Ooh.
So I feel like, society's like, okay, you get your 3 days and just get on with your life. And like,
Mm.
um, you know, Mila was talking about, being in the anger stage, and I was going over with her. There's 6 stages of grief. And what was
Yeah.
so wild is when I learned about the 6 stages of grief, I was taking a psychology of death class
Mm.
years ago. And I actually took this class 6 months before my dad passed.
Mm.
Wow.
Girl, talk about the signs of things trying to prepare you for what you don't understand
Right.
you're being prepared for.
Yeah.
That's, girl. I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, Monika, you share that, but to me, I'm always like, that's kind of how I feel about, yeah, about how my mom,
Hmm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
so, with Mila, with her mother passing, now I don't know how it feels to have a mother pass. I know how it feels to have a parent pass,
Mhm.
and, we had some miscommunication in that area, but I knew she was at the anger stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like one of the questions I had. It was just like,
Right.
Keisha, how do you suggest to people, that how do you help them through that anger stage so that they don't, anger, can build up inside of you and become inner depression, or it can become rage. It can be
Yeah.
violence towards yourself or others, and I don't want to. I don't. Hey, my mama's not here to be bailing me out if I try to act a fool. So that's not really the energy. I'm too grown for that anyway, because that's definitely not how she raised me.
Yeah.
But I definitely know that when Monika said I was at that anger stage, man, I was ready just to have a confrontation with the lady at Starbucks if I had to. I had Monika laughing. I said, it
Mhm.
was the day we had to pick out the casket spray for her casket. And I remember I had got a Starbucks coffee because my mom liked coffee. I don't really mess with coffee like that, but I was like, this is in memory of my mom. I was getting my sister a tea, and I'm headed, to see my sister, and I taste the coffee, and
Mhm.
it's nasty, but I have to go pick out these flowers. So I pick out the flowers, I save the coffee, I come back like 30 minutes to an hour later to that Starbucks, and the whole drive there, I'm like, and if they give me pushback, I'm like, it's too expensive for this damn coffee, I'm not paying $5-6 for this nasty, I was just ready, ready, ready. And I pull
Mhm.
up and the girl was like, okay, you were just here and yep. I said, yes, I did. I have this coffee. This coffee is disgusting. It's watery, whatever, no flavor. She's like, oh yeah, no problem. Pull around. So she was like, okay, here, we remade your coffee and have a nice day. I said, don't you want this old coffee? No, man, we can't take it back. And I know they couldn't take that coffee back, but I was like, I don't want it. I'm not trying to drink it. I'm not trying to scam you. I was just ready, man. And she denied me. She denied me my moment of rage. I said,
Oh
oh
man.
man. So I had to just be like, Lord, you think you're funny. Because you had, be funny when I needed you to be funny. But anyway, so I had to just slink off and drink the slightly better, still not improved.
Mila?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I said maybe I just wasn't feeling it at that time,
Right.
the coffee, but I was denied my rage. So Keisha, help everybody learn how to deal with the rage or their anger
Oh man.
when
And
grieving.
the stages, so they know like what stage they're in. Because
Yeah.
I just became aware that you can be in a stage for a couple decades if you
Oh
don't
yeah. Oh
realize
yeah.
it.
Definitely. Yeah, just to say really quickly, the stages of grief, I think that is so good that you learned that. And I also think that people think it's gonna happen like consecutively, and it's just gonna, okay, we're in this stage, and now we're done with grief. Like, no,
Uh-uh.
it's definitely waves, and you might remix it and do a different stage and like skip it. So just wanted to put that out there. I think with the anger stage, the first thing, I'll say this, I'll preface it with this. I think that because we don't have death etiquette, we also do not prepare for death. So I think that in ways like some of us understand that we should have life insurance and we should have a will and we should like ask the person like what they want their program to look like and what colors do they want and all of what pictures. It's really like an awkward conversation, but it's necessary because then when we get to that place, then we're more prepared with like not having like Milah, like you having to get angry about this coffee, but really it was your hurt of the fact that you don't have your mom here and doing this, you have to go and do this service to prepare for your mom's service, you know? So that piece. But then with the anger piece, um, I always say like you kind of just have to let yourself be. I think and not to a certain extent, right? So let yourself feel it because you're upset. Like when my nephew passed this year, oh man, I was hot. I was mad at everybody. Like, how could this happen, right? Um, then finally, when I came back to Maryland from Tacoma, I wrote a letter. And I wrote a letter to first my nephew to let him know how hot I was about everybody, first and foremost. And then I wrote a letter to whoever I thought, I was mad at. And I think that tactic works a lot because we need to release those feelings and we need to be able to address like what it really is that's happening. And really under anger is hurt. It's really hurt. It's like, well, I'm so hurt that I don't want to deal with this hurt. So I'm going to turn into anger. Uh, and so with the stages of anger, it's like the first stage is really, really intense. Like you're ready to, like you said, Milah, like I'm ready to just go off on everybody. You said what? You didn't like what? The wind is blowing the wrong way? What? Who are you
A
looking at?
verbal lashing.
Right. So it's very intense at first. And so you want to give yourself that space to say, like, hey, first of all, I'm really, really mad and I'm really, really hurt. And you have to do it in a space that you're usually by yourself so that you can feel everything and you're not emotionally monitoring the people around you. But then it starts to dwindle a little bit. But I think that you still need to have like tactics and things that you can use to bring yourself down, but also
You
allow
know,
yourself to feel it.
not to cut you off. One thing I did when I was going through, actually when I was going through my separation, my divorce, I was living by myself in the house, and so I would just yell, or I would yell into a pillow. I would just scream. I had to get it out. I know the neighbors was probably like, "What the hell is going on?" But it was my house, so that's what I would do.
That's good. That's really good. Some physical things like that, like yelling in a pillow, going, going for a walk, getting into boxing if you're like
I
that
was just thinking
mad.
boxing. I was like, man, I told my sister we need to take a boxing class.
I'll
That's
knock
it.
you out.
I'm
Get it
gonna.
out.
Hey, that's what Mama said. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ready to be in there. Oh my goodness,
I just say
Tyson
don't.
people.
Yeah, I just say don't let it fester. Like, don't pretend like you're not angry and then explode. But also, um, redirect the energy into something that's going to allow you to let it out. I always say too, like those places you can go to like break things,
Yeah.
those places, anything that allows you to just really go in without any like judgment, or you have to have any restraint. That's what I encourage.
This is kind of funny. It just came to mind when you said, breaking things. Um, yeah, when I was going through the separation divorce, we had to get a lot of stuff out of the house, and my brother-in-law helped me take some stuff to the dump. Boy, was I throwing all that.
You had a waiting to excel
it was
moment.
it was therapeutic. I was like, that was the best trip that he could have took me on at that time.
Oh,
Mhm.
I believe it. I believe
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh my god. Okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, I just love everything about that. Like you said, get it out, but deal with it, process it. And it kind of reminds me, Monika, of what you were mentioning a bit ago about your job. Like people's employers are like, oh, we're giving you 3 days, but also it's only for your spouse, maybe a parent, maybe a child. But I'm like, well, what if your family dynamics are complicated and your aunt is your mother figure? But
Right.
3 days, I'm like,
Yeah.
3 days, I was still numb. Like three
Mhm.
days into this, I was still like kind of in shock, like, oh no, I'm just like on a vacation. But when I get back, I'm gonna be able to talk to my girl. I'll be able to see her. We're gonna laugh and kiki. And
Mm.
that was not the case. So I don't know about this 3 days. Like you said, I think in this country, we have to look at death, our death practices, like you said, how we treat people, how we're talking about it. Like you said, my mom was not someone who really loved to focus on when she was not here. So,
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, she focused enough to, but still, it was, it wasn't like a conversation she was like really wanting to have. And she had no fear of death because of her strong faith and her beliefs. But still, when I watched her mourn her mother, it was, I was young. I was, maybe 10, 9 or 10. And that was a horrific thing for me because it's the first time I've seen her like cry, like
Yeah.
be upset, be hurt. And honey, 3 days. I think she was off work for like a couple of months. She wasn't just popping up and being over her mom. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to do a little bit better, because but still, it is a process. It definitely is a process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, Lakeisha, we're not going to keep you much longer, but we definitely appreciate you getting the conversation started about mental health grief, dealing with, death and the end of relationships. I mean, we've seen some things on social media this week. We saw Lupita put up something about ending a relationship, and I think it just hit Monika and I the same way. We looked at each other when we read it, like, what?
Oh my gosh, yes. I appreciate being here and like having the conversation. Um because grief does, it covers like losing a loved one and relationships. And I'll just say this and leave it. Grief brain is really a real thing too. So if you notice that you're like not remembering things, or you're like, I can't recall this thing that happened in 2016, it's almost compared to like pregnancy brain. It is a real thing where you can't remember things, short term and long term. So,
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, that makes a lot of sense because I'm like, I can't remember some things right now.
Wow, it really does. Monica, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because every time we'll have conversation, I'll be like, "Don't you remember that from this period?" And it's the period when you were like grieving the end of your marriage, and
Mm,
no, and you don't you don't have a memory until like maybe I show you a picture, or and you're like, "Oh
yeah.
yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, that did happen."
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well,
Like
good.
Yeah.
like some things, I think my mind, my body just literally just blocked out like some years. Like I just don't
Yeah.
remember things.
Yep. That's a real thing. Grief brain is a real thing. Um,
Hmm.
So give yourself grace in that way too. It could be something that happened like, or it could be like, I know I need to do these things, and you'll be in the day and be like, dang, what else was I supposed to do? I can't
Exactly.
remember. And it's very frustrating actually.
Yeah, and you do zone out, girl. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
That's why I said, Keisha, you getting all the things for the people. You know what? Even if you are not personally grieving right now, take notes. Hear what she says. Death etiquette, grief brain, because those things will give you grace and maybe allow you to extend kindness to someone else who's going through it. And then maybe you'll have the words and the comprehension of what's happening when it is your turn. Because that's the one thing I can guarantee is that we will all be in this
Experience
space
this, yes.
at some point. At some
Yeah.
point, there's someone we care about, even if it's your freaking dog or cat. There's going to be something that happens that's going to trigger this grief kind of reflex in you, you know? So,
Yeah.
um, but kind of as we wind it up, since we like to wind things up in a more light way, even if we've had real conversations, I do see in the show notes, Monika had asked a really good question. That was, Keisha, what even got you into
Yeah.
therapy, wanting to help people?
Why did you choose to become a therapist, or did it choose you?
Oh my goodness, it definitely chose me. I have my master's in social work, and I got that because I was listening to a mentor, and she was an attorney, and that was my path of becoming an attorney. And she said to me, "Well, Lakeisha, if I could go back, I would get my master's in social work before I started my law degree." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll do that." And I got my MSW. When I moved over to Maryland, I got into the practice that I'm in now that I'm working with. And it was just like it kind of just chose me,
Mm,
because I care about people so much, but also I had so much lived experience that I had not processed through trauma that I did not know how to like understand and understand why I was showing up the way I was. And so I don't know if you all have had this experience of when you do something and you're helping other people, it's actually helping you.
yes.
Yeah. And
Very much
so,
so. That's why, I mean, that's kind of the reward for it. Sometimes helping or doing something for other people is how it makes you feel, how you feel afterwards, you know,
Right.
to
absolutely.
have been useful to someone.
And that your pain is not at a loss. There's actually you probably heard it, there's purpose in your pain.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. So yeah, it chose me. Like I said, it's like a part of it's an aspect of my career path. It's not everything all encompassing, but I'm so glad that I took that route, because now, like, fast forwarding, even having to, work through things, grief and all of that, and being away from my family like that. So it was easier for me to say, well, Keisha, you need to get into therapy. Right.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I like how you said that. You were out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You were away from maybe some of the triggers that you had that you didn't know, or
Right.
yeah, sometimes taking a step away from your people too. Ooh, will give you clarity. That's interesting.
And so you mentioned, being away from family and being away from your support. And then also, I did want to touch on this because, finances can come into play as one of the key factors that affect our mental health, especially when, we're going through any type of loss in this world. So, how do you approach this in your therapy sessions?
So approaching the finance piece.
Yeah, how
Yeah,
it,
yeah. Because
you
sometimes
know,
people say I can't afford therapy. Like I've heard that a
right.
lot, and I know that
Yeah.
here on our podcast, our platform, Monika has even given out for this month a resource in the Loveland Foundation, like
Mm-hmm.
ways to get free therapy, get help. How do you help people prioritize their self
Yeah.
and being here versus their immediate like concerns of, oh, I don't have the money because, oh, it's gonna manifest, you need to do it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I usually give out some like resources that I know have like a sliding scale, or they basically look at your income to determine, how much it will cost. Some of them, take certain insurances, but then some therapists will um, just have you pay out of pocket, and it might be like $25, you know. But the conversation, though, I don't start immediately with the resource. I talk to them about prioritizing their mental health and how if you're not well in your mental health, then how are you able to do any of the other things? Go to work, go and take care of your kids. And we kind of process through that first.
Mm-hmm.
But I do then give them like resources that I know of. To be able to help them with identifying where to go. But then the other pieces, people will come back to me and say, well, that didn't work because I didn't connect with that therapist and I knew that therapy wasn't going to work. So it's not only the financial piece of knowing where to go, but also knowing that if you don't connect with the therapist, you can request another one. um, but it's hard. It's a difficult conversation because um, most people just say, I can't afford it, you know? So,
Okay, well we hear you. So basically, family, in case you're not sure of what how she put that, she said you are worth more. You think you're grinding to make that couple of dollars, but the
Right.
reality is you gonna burn yourself out. You might have a meltdown.
yeah,
Anything could happen that will affect your money in the end because your mind isn't right.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
let's just work on getting your mind right. So I appreciate that.
Oh.
That's why I've had people be like, "Oh, aren't you ready to go on to the next?" No, no. I said I'm grieving.
Ooh,
I
no,
said
no.
you don't really want me in that kind of space because people go, "Oh, well, we know you're so," or we, "Oh, we remember," or we like, or we no, no. I said I only can keep this space on for so long,
Yeah.
and I don't know when my mask is going to slip because I
Mm,
know that these days I know I'm wearing a mask because there's so many emotions going on. I can't hardly
yeah.
handle it and process it myself, let alone expect the world, people who are strangers, people who don't care, people who want me to do things for them to actually see my heart. So yeah, no, I
You know what?
Mhm.
Another thing comes in mind is for the people um who are actually, who work and have their jobs. They have the resources. They have some resources there that I had tapped in when I was with my former employer, which was like the EAP, employer assistant program or plan, and you can utilize like free sessions of, for counseling for, and it doesn't just have to be a one-time thing. You go counseling for, you got money issues, or going through a divorce, or grieving, and so you can keep going back, and you get like so many free sessions, and you get time off of work to go to those sessions. They have to allow you to do that, or you can invoke your FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act,
yep.
to take some time off or take a sabbatical, because I mean, sometimes some people just have to, I almost going on 2 years. I just had to resign. I just had to take care of myself for
Mhm.
medical and personal reasons. So,
Absolutely. That's a good point too, because that's another avenue that people don't think of is their employer and looking to see what resources they have. Um, but it's for me, I think a big step. It's so hard. And I don't know if you all have experienced this or if you've tried therapy, but just to come to the conclusion like I need help, and then I actually have to let somebody know I need help, and I have to go through this process, that's a barrier.
Yeah.
Not only is it the finances and not having the resources, once we've established those things, it's then like, oh, I don't know if I want to call. I don't want to be in this vulnerable space,
I
right.
don't want my job to know about it. See, I know
Yeah.
a lot of people who their jobs might have the resource, but they're so paranoid, which they probably need to actually speak to someone about that, about how they're being treated in the space of their employer as who they are, how they're showing up, that they don't want to give their job any leverage. They don't trust that these things are really confidential. They don't really trust the things that they should, because you're right. We definitely have known people. I know Monika gave out this advice to one of her friends as well. If you can go ahead and buy that like Gucci bag, you definitely can pay for a couple of therapy sessions. It's not
Investing, yeah,
that bag is gonna be out of season in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but your mental health, that's gonna help you get to the next season or two. You know.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree.
I think for me, piggyback on what you said, that's like the major hurdle, actually acknowledging and being aware that you need help.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I was blessed as to where, I mean, I've I've struggled with mental health like since I was in my teens. And so, but my mother was in the medical field. And so I was introduced to therapy and counseling way,
Mm,
when I was younger. So I don't even remember, probably because I wasn't an adult at that time and had that hindrance of what are people going to think.
yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
Yeah, we have to debunk the whole like black people don't go to therapy. Like that's
right.
not true. Like,
Amen. And also, people don't know what you don't tell them. No one knows that you're going to therapy unless you feel like you want to share that with them.
Exactly.
yeah.
I said, I have a girlfriend who I just know her therapist is a miracle worker because, honey, she is just a fabulous, wonderful. She was always good, but we knew that she needed help. But man, her therapist, but she said she did the work. She said, oh, I went in my times and I appreciate that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh goodness,
Mm.
I said I love a good conversation because no one wants it to end. All right,
Right.
the final thing then, Keisha, how do you have are you on social media? How can people connect with you? We're gonna always keep them updated when you let us know. But is there anything or any direct way that they can be in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just simply go through LinkedIn, and just, find me on there, my name, Lakeisha Jones, and send me a message. And that'll be the best way to reach me.
We'll
Okay.
definitely put that link up in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's another reason to read through all those show notes. There is a purpose at the end of them. Most of the links for anything we've discussed, whether it's for funding, whether it's how to get in contact with Lakeisha, and I know that you are primarily now you are one of Washington's gems, but you are actually operating out of the DMV right now. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Absolutely. I'm in
Okay,
there.
right. One of my other favorite parts of the country, honey. Like I said,
Yes.
formerly Chocolate City. We gonna see. We gonna see what happens in DC. So,
Yeah, I
but
love
all right. Well, thank you so much for chatting
Thank
with us. We
you,
appreciate
it.
you.
You're
Keisha.
welcome. You all take care.
Yeah, and
You do the
blessings for
same.
you and your year, the rest of your year, because obviously you're doing the work and really helping people. I feel better, and this was just like a little taste of a therapy session. Look, this was
Yeah.
therapy sessions with Keisha. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here. Just, reach out and I'll stay connected. If anyone has questions, it doesn't have to be like, hey, Keisha, I want you to be my therapist. But if you just need, you have some extra questions, they can reach out to me in LinkedIn. So thank you
All
all.
right.
Thank you. So
Thank you,
grateful.
honey. Woo!
Okay, take care.
That was really a great conversation with Keisha. I'm just taking the time to process, all of the new terminology, giving myself some grief, brain grace, and all those things. But Monika, I know I'm excited about this week's, I guess, business of the week or what we've partnered with because it is mental health awareness, as we've mentioned throughout the podcast and throughout the month. But you have something exciting to share with the family. So let's get into it.
Yes, we are one of the sponsors of Rock Paper Scissors Foundation presents the Break the Silence. It's the first virtual mental health conference, and it is coming up soon, November 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay.
So that's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and check your time zone. But
Okay.
okay.
The host is KristalKlear, and on the panel it is Dr. Jay Barnett,
Hmm.
Dr. Angela White,
Oh,
known as Black China.
Okay, I got you when you said Angela White. Okay.
Uh-huh. And then comedian Ron G.
Okay, so I like that. A little bit of humor as well as we delve into this real talk. So okay.
Yeah, and this is for everyone. This isn't just for the ladies. This is for everybody. Okay.
You got a
There will be
body, you're invited.
right. There will be links on our page to purchase your the tickets. Invest in yourself. The tickets, they're not that much. Invest in yourself. Give yourself 3 hours. And just rest your mind and, listen to the conversation that's going on and connect with people.
Mhm.
And so we hope that you join us because we will be online
Yes,
on
we
November
will.
4th
The
at
4th.
10 a.m.
At 10. All right. Thanks, Monika, for that share. We're going to keep talking about it up until the day of the event. We want to see you there. Oh, yeah, we're going to keep talking about it up until the day of the event. We want to see you there too. We want you to get healed. We want you to go into this holiday season, which can be really traumatic and really heavy for people, feeling uplifted and encouraged.
And have the tools, just to, like you said, we getting through day by day.
that's that's the truth. Monika, where can they find us again?
They can find us on Anchor, Spotify, and now iTunes. And please like, share, subscribe, and leave us a comment. You can shoot us an email or a voice message if you'd like. And with all that, love and gratitude.
Remember to call your aunties or your girlfriends and say hi. Bye.